Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are tackling a truly colossal document. It's the 2023 Integrated Annual Report from a major universal financial institution, which we're just going to call the company. Our mission here for you is pretty essential. We want to cut through the thousands of pages, all the corporate jargon, and really just pull out the core strategy, the critical financial signals, the long-term commitments that actually matter. This deep dive is basically your shortcut to being well informed on, well, the state of global finance today.
And we should probably start by framing this document because it's not just an earnings report, not at all. It uses these principles of integrated reporting, which means the company has to focus on how different types of capitals, so you have financial, human, natural, and intellectual, how they all connect to drive value. And if you look at the 2023 report, the story is overwhelmingly centered on really two things: a massive technological transformation and their non-negotiable environmental, social, and governance commitments.
Okay, so let's ground that context in some hard numbers. For 2023, the company reported $33.1 billion in net income.
And that's attributable to controllers, which is a key detail.
Right. It's a massive figure, but what's maybe more telling is the efficiency they achieved. An impressive 18.6% return on equity, and what they themselves are calling their best index of efficiency in history.
Which is a huge claim.
It is. Just pausing on that for a second, achieving that kind of scale and agility, that's really why this report is so significant.
Okay, so let's unpack how they got there. Well, to really understand the efficiency, you first have to appreciate the sheer scale of the operation. The financial foundation is just monumental. So their net income, the part attributable to controlling shareholders, it grew 13.3% year over year.
13%, wow.
And the recurring result, which sort of smooths out any one-off items, showed even stronger growth. That was up 16.4% year over year, settling at $34.7 billion.
And the overall size of the organization is just breathtaking.
Exactly. Total assets reached $2.543 trillion.
Trillion.
Yes, trillion. And that's a solid 9.6% year-over-year increase. And supporting that massive scale is a total credit portfolio of $1.2 trillion.
So when you operate at that level, I imagine maintaining stability while also trying to drive all this change, that becomes the central challenge.
That's the whole game.
And that brings us right back to the efficiency story you mentioned. Their efficiency index hit 39.9%. Now, for anyone who isn't steeped in banking metrics, an efficiency index just measures how much it costs the bank to generate revenue. Lower is better.
And getting below 40% is, well, it's considered the gold standard, especially for a bank of this size. It's incredibly difficult to achieve.
So what's fascinating is the process of efficiency here. They're not framing this as some radical one-off cost-cutting exercise.
No, not at all. It's defined as a foundational pillar of their sustained growth, and it's achieved through a continuous program. We're talking about over 1,500 different initiatives.
That sort of reframes what efficiency means in the digital age, doesn't it?
It does.
It suggests efficiency is no longer about, maximizing your physical footprint, but about intellectual scale, maximizing your output for every unit of risk.
That's a perfect way to put it. And the report explicitly states that this whole effort relies heavily on sophisticated data and analytics, including a really intensive use of artificial intelligence.
So they're optimizing processes, not just cutting them.
Exactly. And you can see this transition reflected in the quality of their credit portfolio, which is always a key barometer for sustained performance.
Okay, tell us about that credit quality. Are they underwriting better loans now?
Well, the numbers suggest they are. The 90-day non-performing loan ratio, or NPL 90, which is a critical measure of troubled debt, it actually decreased by 0.2 percentage points.
Which is good.
Very good. It closed 2023 at 3.1%. And the report says this reduction is primarily because of better quality in recent originations, especially within their individual customer portfolio.
So yes, better underwriting, and I'm guessing that's powered by that deep integration of data you were talking about?
That's the logical connection, yes.
And where are they choosing to deploy that better underwriting? We saw some pretty targeted growth. It was, 4.1% growth for individuals in Brazil, and then a really robust 8.8% growth in large corporations, also in Brazil.
And that focus on Brazil is interesting because it's complemented by a strategic, let's say, refining of their international footprint.
Ah, right. They sold the Argentina operation.
They did late in 2023. But at the same time, they increased their stake in their Chile operation, where they now hold 67.42% of the capital.
So that signals a really high-stakes decision, right? To concentrate their capital in key, stable markets where they can have maximum influence and capture growth.
It's a classic consolidation play.
But all of these metrics, they rely on one underlying factor. You have to have a cultural engine that's powerful enough to sustain such a massive technological and strategic change. And that brings us to their new identity, which is encapsulated by this brand positioning, made of future, or feitito di futuro.
This cultural shift is fascinating. It contrasts so heavily with their legacy. The company's name originally means black stone in the Tupi ancient language.
So something solid, permanent.
Exactly, rock-solid stability. But the new brand, it honors that legacy, but it stresses dynamism, reinvention, and always moving forward.
And this cultural frame, it drives three really clear strategic objectives. Deep client centricity, becoming a rapid and modern organization, and achieving truly sustainable growth.
Which is their definitive answer to the disruption from fintechs, isn't
It
it?
has to be. They're trying to be as agile as a startup, but with the capital base and trust of a huge, established, universal bank.
And that first objective, client centrality, that's where the culture really meets the wallet. They are meticulously tracking loyalty. They've achieved a new historic maximum for their global net promoter score, or NPS. It's up 21 points since 2018.
And this next figure, this just changes the game for how we think about banking. They actually quantified the value of that client loyalty. They reported that engaged clients, so those who use the company as their main bank, they generate 10 times more revenue and result in 4 times less relationship cancellation.
10 times. That concrete return on customer experience is just staggering.
It is.
They estimate that a single percentage point increase in engaged clients generates over $1 billion in incremental results per year.
Wow.
This fundamentally reframes the business. They aren't just selling financial products anymore. They're selling a service that's built on sustained loyalty and data.
And that kind of massive incentive structure, it forces a transformation of the service model. They call it phygital and omnichannel.
Which is more than just digital adoption. It's true integration. It recognizes that, yes, the physical bank branch still exists, but it serves a more hybrid strategic purpose now.
And the numbers show this is basically the standard now.
Oh, absolutely. 76% of individual contracts were processed digitally in 2023.
And for day-to-day interactions.
Digital is the default. 95% of retail individual interactions and 88% of corporate interactions are now digital.
That's huge.
Even more striking, 50% of all new accounts, both individual and corporate, were opened digitally last year. This is just the new operating reality for major institutions.
So that rapid adoption brings us squarely to their intellectual capital, because that's the actual engine driving this modernization. Right?
It has to be that record efficiency index we talked about, the healthy credit portfolio. It's all rooted in how they organize their, 90,000 plus employees and how they deploy technology.
Let's talk about that organizational structure because it's a crucial insight for you if you're tracking corporate transformation. They move to what they call integrated communities or squads.
Yes. And this isn't just, a simple org chart shift. It's about embedding tech developers, business product managers, operations experts, and design specialists into single, self-sufficient teams.
The goal being to move faster.
To move faster and to think like a collection of small, agile startups rather than a single, monolithic bureaucracy.
And the scale of this internal shift is massive. 21,200 employees now work across 2,387 squads.
Which is an incredible increase of nearly 500% compared to just 2020.
So what are the measurable results of moving that many people into this agile structure?
Well, the operational metrics really tell the story. This shift, combined with continuous tech improvement, led to a reported 98% reduction in high-impact client incidents compared to 2018.
98%.
And tying it back to that efficiency index, they saw a 32% reduction in the cost of unique transactions since 2020. This is the quantifiable return on that intellectual and organizational capital investment.
But that kind of speed and stability requires a huge technological foundation. They report that over 60% of their entire platform is now modernized.
And that includes crucial cloud migration and rewriting a lot of legacy code.
Right. And critically, that 60% covers 70% of the services that are most essential to their competitiveness. They're focusing modernization where the customer and the bottom line meet.
And that modernized cloud-based platform is the bedrock for their AI deployment. The complexity and volume here are significant. The company uses almost 600 AI models right now and employs over 360 dedicated data scientists.
And the application of this AI is moving really rapidly from, back office optimization to actual client-facing engagement.
It is. The use of AI in receptive service calls is now up to 72% of the total. That's a 45 percentage point increase in just 2 years. It's a huge shift in customer interaction.
And they are aggressively pursuing the next frontier, right?
Right.
Generative AI.
They are. They're actively developing 220 initiatives using Gen AI, and they already have 10 in production. This shows they're not just waiting for the technology to mature, they're actively shaping its application right now.
And this is the core insight for you, the listener. The concrete examples of how this power is being applied. For instance, Gen AI is helping investment clients immediately understand how breaking news might affect their specific portfolios.
That's moving from just descriptive analysis to truly actionable intelligence.
Yeah, exact.
And internally, the technology is reading and classifying over 70,000 legal processes every month.
Yeah.
That level of efficiency in administrative tasks, it just frees up human capital for more strategic roles.
And it all loops back. AI is also crucial for optimizing credit analysis with real-time data, closing that loop back to the strong credit quality we discussed at the start.
It's all connected.
Let's shift our attention now to the long-term view.
Yep.
Governance, risk, and ESG. This section of the report really details the scale of their commitment to sustainability.
Indeed. And their ESG commitment is huge. They've already reached 89% of their public goal to contribute $400 billion to sustainable development by 2025.
That's a massive number.
It is. And on the social side, they invested $824.4 million in private social projects, covering everything from education to culture and mobility.
And their climate strategy is incredibly ambitious. They're aiming to be the bank of the climate transition for their clients.
Which means aligning with the Global Net Zero Banking Alliance goal of achieving net zero by 2050. That's in line with the Paris Agreement's 1.5 degrees Celsius warming goal.
So to understand the challenge there, we have to look at their emissions profile. The company's total absolute emissions in 2023 reached 22.5 million tons of CO2 equivalent.
But here's the critical distinction. 99.57% of that total is what we call financed emissions, or Scope 3.
Okay, let's explain that. Scope 1 emissions are what the bank itself produces, like running the lights in their buildings.
Right.
But Scope 3, or financed emissions, that's the carbon footprint of all the companies and projects they lend money to.
Precisely. So if Scope 1 is the pollution from running the bank's own building, Scope 3 is the pollution from the coal plant or the farming operation that the bank has financed. The impact is overwhelmingly driven by the businesses they enable.
Which is why their decarbonization goals are so critical.
Exactly.
And to manage their own internal footprint, they compensate 100% of their remaining Scope 1 operational emissions, and they use an internal carbon price of 55.00.
And that price is based on the average cost they pay for purchased carbon credits. It puts a real financial weight on their own carbon output, which helps inform business decisions.
Right, and their transition strategy focuses heavily on setting sector-specific goals for their high-emission clients.
For example, they're targeting a 63% reduction in emissions intensity for electricity generation by 2030. They also have a very clear commitment to phase out coal operations entirely by 2030.
Meaning zero revenue from coal after that date.
That's the pledge.
Okay, finally, let's turn to the framework that assures all of this stability. Governance and risk. The core cultural value here, they state, is that ethics is non-negotiable.
And their risk management is structured around what they call 3 lines of defense, which ensures constant oversight. Key risks like geopolitical instability, disruption from fintechs, and of course, cybersecurity are continually monitored. They run stress tests and capital adequacy reviews, that's the ICAP process, to ensure they can maintain that stability no matter the external shocks.
So to wrap this dive up, the report really delivers 2 powerful takeaways for you. First, the company achieved both peak operational efficiency and historic customer satisfaction scores in 2023.
A huge accomplishment.
And second, these monumental achievements were powered entirely by a massive data-driven organizational overhaul centered on tech and AI adoption.
We should also briefly mention the human capital metrics. They're focused heavily on diversity goals. For instance, they're aiming for 35 to 40% women in medium and high leadership roles by 2025.
And their internal employee satisfaction, the ENPS.
It remains high at 82. That cultural alignment is just critical for sustaining that whole squads model we talked about.
And this all changes the game for how we view their long-term identity. The company's whole brand story draws on that ancient Tupi meaning of its name. the black stone. It represents rock-solid stability,
Like
legacy.
the foundation.
Yet their entire future, and really almost all their capital, is now dependent on these highly intangible, fluid concepts.
Like agile organizational structures, cloud technology, complex climate finance models.
Exactly. Which raises a really important question.
It does. As the financial world rapidly digitizes and it relies more and more on complex AI and cloud services for speed and agility, how long can these massive institutions really rely on that written-in-stone stability as their core competitive advantage?
Especially against competitors that are built purely from, air and code.
Perhaps the deepest dive for you is to decide which element, the stone or the cloud, is the truly valuable asset in the years ahead.